ground! You got 3 seconds!
Why are you running? Why are you running?
You gonna drive or you getting out?
Oh, shit. This is such a bad idea.
So the first time I was introduced to a Guy Ritchie film was in the year of our Lord David Lynch of 2000, and that film was Snatch.
Come on then. For the Germans get.
Now, I actually knew nothing of Guy Ritchie, and I bought the DVD because I saw Brad Pitt in the film, and I was just glazing hard for him after the film Fight Club.
How's that working out for you? What? Being clever?
He looked super ripped in the film, had a funny accent, and I was like, why not? Great movie, by the way. Needed subtitles the first few times I watched it, and it was so different from anything I've ever seen because all I've consumed all of my life is American movies. So seeing a British movie like this just blew my socks off, and it was just incredible. 2 things happened on that day. 1, I fell in love with Guy Ritchie's witty Brit action comedies. And British comedies in general. And 2, I was introduced to my new ride or die bitch, Jason Statham. Over 2 decades later, and Statham is still kicking ass. And I'm still showing up for my main man. But in between Transporter and Beekeeper, Jason Statham and Guy Ritchie teamed up once again to create what I feel is one of the most underrated action revenge movies since The Count of Monte Cristo. The Jim Caviezel and Guy Pearce version, of course. And that film is called Wrath of Man. Okay, before I continue my glaze fest of Wrath of Man, let's get some things out of the way first. First, there's going to be some spoilers, so if you haven't seen Wrath of Man, go ahead and stop being a little bitch and go watch the film. It's an action revenge movie, it's got a great cast, it's got a fantastic score, and it's got plenty of bodies hitting the floor. It's also on Tubi, which is totally free, if you're in the US, of course. I'll have to make a video soon on how much I fucking love Tubi. It's amazing. There are so many good movies. I could sit here and talk about all the movies on Tubi and television series. The Zatoichi 1970s series is on Tubi, but I'm not going to get into that here. Let's talk about Wrath of Man. The second thing that I wanted to say is that I make all these videos by myself. No AI, no editors, no copying other creators' videos. So if you enjoyed this content, hit that like button for me. You don't have to subscribe if you don't want to. I'm a bit of a free bird myself, and I just don't like subscribing to every single channel. But if you don't hit that like button, unfortunately, YouTube just buries my content, and then I feel completely useless. So please help a brother out. And that is it for the begging.
Doors were open. What the fuck was it, Mike? It was the...
So let's start off with the cast and production notes, shall we? And we've got a juicy cast here. Wrath of Man released in 2021 and was written and directed by Guy Ritchie. Film is loosely based off of a 2004 French film called Cash Truck, and it's Ritchie's 4th collaboration with Statham and the first since 2005's Revolver, which, by the way, I haven't seen Revolver in a while. I gotta rewatch it because I remember nothing of the film. So before I move on to the main cast and where you've seen them before, let's go over my history with Guy Ritchie and how much this guy means to me. So, as I said, the first Guy Ritchie film I saw was Snatch. The year was 2000. I was the general manager of Funkoland at the tender age of 19, swapping the game here and there from that nasty pile of Nintendo games either you or your dad brought into me in that gross-ass, nasty box that you know had roaches in it, but you didn't want to clean it out. You just decided to bring it to Funkoland all nasty. Oh, look, this Nintendo console you're trading in is disgusting and gross. Now I'm going to swipe your copy of Final Fantasy II, which has a trade-in value of over $40. Consider that a dirtbag tax.
You're a crook.
Anyway, me and my misfit crew would hit up the Wiz, which was this electronics store, and we'd see what movies or CDs we wanted to spend our hard-earned money on. And I came across Snatch one day. I've seen the commercials. Brad Pitt was looking just ripped in the movie.
Gay!
It had an interesting art style. Like I said, I was sucking him off after his amazing performance in Fight Club. Like, Fight Club is one of those movies that I watched and it just took me in. So sure, people spoke funny and I had to hit the subtitles the first go around, but I instantly fell in love with Guy Ritchie and his style of films. I fell in love with all of the cast. They're either really witty, they're funny, they're great actors. Love them all.
Gay!
So I bought this movie. I loved it so much that, I heard that he came out with another movie beforehand called Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels. Next Thursday, I was at the Wiz spending my paycheck again, another $20 on a DVD. Bought Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels, and I gotta admit, I actually liked that movie a bit more than Snatch. So, speaking of Snatch, I want to point out that the actor that plays Tommy, I believe his name is Stephen Graham. He's in this new TV show about Victorian-era underground boxing, and he looks absolutely jacked. But I don't know, if you've heard of the show and you like Stephen Graham, go check out that show. I have no idea where it's on. Probably AMC. Okay, let's run down the cast and where we've seen them before. Now, I don't need to introduce our main man, Statham. As I've said before, he's been kicking ass since the 90s, and for the most part, he's put out decent work. And personally, I really enjoyed Beekeeper, but I found Working Man to be less enjoyable. Hobbs and Shaw was okay, but if you had to make me pick between Hobbs and Shaw or The Meg, I'd probably watch The Meg instead. I did see Homefront a few years back, and I really liked that movie, but I see why it didn't do well, because they cast the villain as James Franco. It just did not work out. And by the way, they had Frank Grillo in the film. Frank Grillo was also a villain, but he was like a secondary villain that came later on down the line. It's a shame because I actually enjoy that movie, but I can see why people don't like it. Okay, let's move on to the rest of the cast. First up is Hulk McCallany as Bullet. Hulk is character actor, man. You've seen him in a ton of movies, but if you're an old fart like me, then you're gonna remember him in the film Fight Club. He's the guy that explains in Death, you have a name.
His name is Robert Paulson.
His name is Robert Paulson.
His name is Robert.
Next up, we've got Jeffrey Donovan as Jackson. For the old timers, once again, that had cable and had USA Network, you'll instantly recognize him as Michael Weston from Burn Notice. Recently, he was both in Sicario and Sicario Day of the Soldado. Both solid action films, but especially the first movie, that freaking musical score in Sicario is just, it builds that tension. It's amazing.
Nothing. Rooftops clear. Bridge is one click out. Road is clear. Hot footage.
You really got to watch that movie if you haven't seen it. Another actor we've got here is Scott Eastwood, who plays Jan and is basically the villain of villains. He's like the bad guy of the bad guys. He's the one you really love to hate. He plays the role well enough, and he's a decent enough actor. But seriously, like every time I see him, I just can't stop thinking about how much he looks so much like his father. Like he does that squinting thing, that eye squint, and he really looks like his father Clint. And it's almost a bit distracting. Like I just can't stop thinking about it when he's on screen. Josh Hartnett has a small role in the film, as does Andy Garcia. I know Josh Hartnett has been on a roll, although I know his movies haven't been really good. But good for him that he's getting work, man. He just like disappeared for like a decade or two and then came back strong. Speaking of Josh Hartnett, The Faculty. If you've never seen the movie The Faculty, ooh, that's a good one. Cult classic. You'll recognize Niam Algar from the tragically canceled show Raised by Wolves. Breathe, movie squid, breathe. I don't want to go off on a rant how Raised by Wolves was just wacky and kooky on its second season, but unique and something different, and was going to be amazing, and then they canceled it on us. What a shame. What a great show, man. It was just so unique, such an interesting and refreshing science fiction show. I loved it. I'm going to move on, but I do just want to give a quick shout out to Babs Olusamokun, who is great in Dune and Dune Part 2, and Laz Alonso, who plays Mother's Milk in The Boys.
I want your liver. The lungs. Splendid.
Okay, so normally this is the part where I summarize the movie and it's boring as shit. I'm changing it up, suckers. I'm going to list the chapter names for the film and briefly describe them, because basically this movie presents itself in 4 acts. Act 1, a dark spirit. So the film opens with a botched armored car robbery. It's single camera, so you don't see much, but you know a bunch of people just got shot. 5 months later, and our main man Statham joins Fortico Security, barely passing his marksman and driving test. And you already know something's up, because Statham ain't gonna just barely pass a marksman and tactical driving test. He's gonna ace it. So something's off, but we keep going. So Statham is assigned the partner Bullet as his mentor. He's given a nickname H, and he gets off to a rocky start with the crew, but then day 2 rolls around and someone tries to rob Statham's truck. So you got Statham in the truck with Josh Hartnett, and Bullet ends up getting kidnapped. The robbers want to throw all the money in the truck. So Statham gets out of the back of the truck. He starts throwing in the bags, and then he accidentally throws one on the floor. And then as soon as one of the robbers goes out to grab that bag, boom, Jason Statham just blows him away, and then he just kills everyone with precision. He chases down the final gunman, which is Post Malone, which I gotta say, like, he looks like a clown. Like, how can anyone look at Post Malone and say, like, yeah, like, that guy's a gangster, that guy's a straight up gangster? He just looks ridiculous. So anyway, Statham chases down Post Malone. He unmasks him. He asks him if he robbed the truck that was 6 months ago. Post Malone gives him a snarky remark. Boom, bullet to the head. And we move on. 3 months later, and again, Statham's truck is robbed. This time, though, the robbers end up seeing Statham come out of the truck. They see his face, and they just bolt. That perfectly segues into Act 2, Scorched Earth. So in Scorched Earth, we learned that Statham is a powerful mob boss who is scoping out the armored truck that got robbed in the opening scene. Tragically, when it was robbed, one of the gunmen kills Statham's son, Jan, of course, and also kills or tries to kill Statham and just leaves him for dead. Now, of course, Statham's alive, he recovers, and then he just goes on a killing spree in search of the people who robbed that armored truck. And it is just brutal. He just finds these people, he interrogates them, he kills them at will. But after much deserved bloodshed of these scumbags, gunmen cannot be found, and Statham indicates that he's done searching for now. He's headed back to London. But what he's really doing is he's changing tactics, as his second in command suggests it's an inside job. So Statham decides to infiltrate the very armored truck company to find his son's killer. And now we move on to Act 3, Bad Animals, Bad. So this just showed to the crew that held up the armored truck in the beginning, their motivations, and their troubles with Jan. Basically, Jeffrey Donovan and his crew are disgruntled Afghanistan vets who cannot adjust to civilian life. It starts off small. They rob some rich guy's house that one of the guys works security for, and then they move on to armored trucks. The final heist involves stealing money not from the armored truck itself, but from the depot on Black Friday. As for Jan, it's apparent throughout the film that he's not only the bad egg of the bunch, but also the one who kills Statham's son. He's reckless, and a part of me questions why they even asked him for the final job, but it's explained in the movie well enough, and they do have contingency plans to deal with him. But yeah, he's basically the whole reason their final heist goes up in flames. Our final act is called Liver, Lungs, Spleen, and Heart. Now, we move back to present day, and the final heist is about to go down. I won't spoil too much for you, but it is brutal. A lot, and I mean a lot of people die. Anyway, we find out who our inside man is working at Fortico with the guys. And I will just say that the mole is an even worse villain than Jan. Jeffrey Donovan's character actually mentions that in the scene where he says that the inside man is even greedier than Jan. Let that sink in. Anyway, our main man Statham gets his revenge in the end by shooting Jan in all the areas that his son was shot, hence the name of the final act and movie. You seriously got to watch this movie though. I know I left out some good bits. I did that specifically so that it forces you to watch this film. Go watch the movie. It's fantastic. Well, there you have my take on Wrath of Man. It's such a damn good movie, and I appreciate Guy Ritchie trying something completely new. Honestly, I think it worked. Anyway, that is it from me, my brothers and sisters. I hope that you enjoyed the video. Let me know what you think of the film and sound off on your favorite scenes below. Let me know if I didn't mention anything that you think deserves mention. Anyway, take care, guys. Peace out.
Peace out.